Practical Vedanta, Part 4, Text 2. The Advaitist theory of the soul reconciles both these positions. The position of the Advaitist is that it is true that we cannot think of the substance as separate as from the qualities. We cannot think of change and not change at the same time. It would be impossible. But the very thing which is the substance is the quality. Substance and quality are not two things. It is the unchangeable that is appearing as the changeable. The unchangeable substance of the universe is not something separate from it. The noumenon is not something different from the phenomena, but it is the very noumenon which has become the phenomena. There is a soul which is unchanging. And what we call feelings and perceptions, nay, even the body, are the very soul seen from another point of view. We have got into the habit of thinking that we have bodies and souls and so forth. But really speaking, there is only one. When I think of myself as the body, I am only a body. It is meaningless to say I am something else. And when I think of myself as the soul, the body vanishes, and the perception of the body does not remain. None can get the perception of the self without his perception of the body having vanished. None can get perception of the substance without his perception of the qualities having vanished. The ancient illustration of Advaita of the rope being taken for a snake may elucidate the point a little more. When a man mistakes the rope for a snake, the rope has vanished, and when he takes it for a rope, the snake has vanished and the rope only remains. These ideas of dual or treble existence come from reasoning on insufficient data, and we read them in books or hear about them until we come under the delusion that we really have a dual perception of the soul and the body, but such a perception never really exists. The perception is either of the body or of the soul. It requires no arguments to prove it. You can verify it in your own minds. Try to think of yourself as a soul, as a disembodied something. You will find it to be almost impossible, and those few who are able to do so will find that at the time when they realize themselves as a soul, they have no idea of the body. You have heard of or perhaps have seen persons who on particular occasions had been in peculiar states of mind brought about by deep meditation, self-hypnotism, hysteria or drugs. From their experience, you may gather that when they are perceiving the internal something, the external had vanished for them. This shows that whatever exists is one. That one is appearing in these various forms, and all these various forms give rise to the relation of cause and effect. The relation of cause and effect is one of evolution. The one becomes the other, and so on. Sometimes the cause vanishes, as it were, and in its place leaves the effect. If the soul is the cause of the body, the soul, as it were, vanishes for the time being, and the body remains. And when the body vanishes, the soul remains. This theory fits the arguments of the Buddhists that were leveled against the assumption of the dualism of body and soul. By denying the duality and showing that the substance and the qualities are one and the same thing appearing in various forms. We have seen also that this idea of the unchangeable can be established only as regards the whole, but never as regards the part. The very idea of part comes from the idea of change or motion. Everything that is limited we can understand and know because it is changeable, and the whole must be unchangeable, because there is no other thing besides it in relation to which change would be possible. Change is always in regard to something which does not change or which changes relatively less. According to Advaita, therefore, the idea of the soul as universal, unchangeable and immortal can be demonstrated as far as possible. The difficulty would be as regards the particular. What shall we do with the old dualistic theories which have such a hold upon us, and which we have all to pass through these beliefs in limited little individual souls? We have seen that we are immortal with regard to the whole, but the difficulty is we desire so much to be immortal as parts of the whole. We have seen that we are infinite and that is our real individuality. But we want so much to make these little souls individual. What becomes of them when we find in our everyday experience that these little souls are individuals, with only this reservation that they are continuously growing individuals. They are the same, yet not the same. The I of yesterday is the I of today, and yet not so, it is changed somewhat. Now, by getting rid of the dualistic conception that in the midst of all these changes there is something that does not change, and taking the most modern of conceptions, that of evolution, we find that the I is a continuously changing, expanding entity. If it be true that man is the evolution of a mollusk, the mollusk individual is the same as the man, only it has to become expanded a great deal. From mollusk to man, it has been a continuous expansion towards infinity. Therefore, the limited soul can be styled an individual which is continuously expanding towards the infinite individual. Perfect individuality will only be reached when it has reached the infinite. But on this side of the infinite, it is a continuously changing, growing personality. One of the remarkable features of the Advaitist system of Vedanta is to harmonize the preceding systems. In many cases, it helped the philosophy very much. In some cases, it hurt it. Our ancient philosophers knew what you call the theory of evolution, that growth is gradual, step by step, and the recognition of this led them to harmonize all the preceding systems. Thus, not one of these preceding ideas was rejected. The fault of the Buddhistic faith was that it had neither the faculty nor the perception of this continual expansive growth. And for this reason, it never even made an attempt to harmonize itself with the pre-existing steps towards the ideal. They were rejected as useless and harmless.